So, hey guys, this is Theo. I just wanted to make a brief introduction for the podcast for this episode because there was a bit of a hiccup while during recording. My voice is going to be coming in a little bit of like with a haze, and I was doing my best to try and recover it, and I had some help from a friend. We did our best to get the file to what it is now, but I do sound admittedly pretty obnoxious, so I hope that doesn't detract from the main core of the conversation with Savrin, and it was really great. I was so glad to have him on. So I hope you guys enjoy, and just bear with just the lackluster audio on my part. But Savrin sounds great, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, thank you.
So, hey guys, welcome to TreeBark episode. This is episode 15 already, and I have a creator interview featuring Savrin. Hey Savrin, how are you doing?
Doing good. It's a really nice day here in Texas.
And I'm so glad you can make it among all of like the kind of hecticness and everything. And I kind of wanted to start off with to kickstart this, like if you'd like to make a little intro for yourself to let people know what you're about.
Sure thing. So,
Yeah.
I'm Savrin. I am a podcaster, audiobook narrator, and convention organizer. I have been involved in the furry community for 23 years or so, and have been podcasting for the past 14-ish. It's been a very long time. And
Wow, 14 years. Wow.
I've been involved in convention organizing since 2008. So I've got my fingers in all sorts of furry pies.
I know your pubs are everywhere. And I actually started, 14 years for the podcast. I personally have been really enjoying SouthPaws since about 3 years ago, back in late 2016, 2017. So yeah, I've really loved it, and that's been a partial inspiration for starting a podcast myself, and no less in the furry community. I really love how it features a lot of aspects of the community, and it keeps a nice rounded amount of news and information for me to keep up to date with the community. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for the constant 14 years of uploads.
Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things that it's evolved a lot over the years, and once we rebranded, it kind of shifted into more of the current events format that it is today.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out this format for myself too. I've done only a handful of episodes now. We're on to 15. And I've been taking this route of doing more kind of one-on-one personal interviews. Have you guys developed this format where it's just more of a weekly casual thing for you guys? And I really kind of like that casual nature because it feels really connected.
Well, one of the benefits is that the podcast has always been a local recording. Up until the past few months, we all live locally to each other. We're friends and have been working together in the local community forever. I've known Shiva since I was I attended her first room party of hers at an ACON in 2004-ish. So,
oh, wow.
She was running furry room parties at the local big anime convention back when I was a teenager. But yeah, we've been friends for basically forever, and so when it's in person, we're all sitting around smoking the hookah. It makes it very easy so that you don't talk over each other. We've been adjusting a little bit to having to do everything remotely, and that's a little hard, but practice makes perfect.
Oh, you mentioned about having a local anime convention. I find myself kind of in a similar situation there because I am based in Hawaii, and we have this convention called KawaiiCon. It's cute convention, and they have this every year, and I'd say it's our biggest kind of anime culture type of subculture convention. We sadly have no local big fur conventions here. So how did that gravitate from the local anime scene into the more furry developed convention for you?
Well, back in the day, the closest local convention to us was Method Fur Meet in Memphis, Tennessee. And that's still about an 8-hour drive. And so around 2007, 2008, we, with a number of our the Fiesta board founding members, really, were we'll make our own convention here in Dallas. And basically, we just kind of got together. We had a little bit of lawyer input. We had some input from the folks that ran OklaCon. They really helped us out in the early days. And basically, we wanted to level up from doing just room parties at other conventions to having our own little shindig here in DFW. Thankfully, because we had been doing those kind of events, we had a lot of ins with the local convention community and people who knew what they were doing. And they helped us get in at the Crown Plaza, which was where the first Furry Fiesta was held back in 2009.
Oh, nice.
And that was put together with spit and string and like 15 staffers and $11,000 from all of our own pockets.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it was personally funded from just a handful of you guys wanting to really, push the envelope and organize this for everyone?
Yeah. Back in the day, the seed money from the very beginning was basically from a good number of ours pockets. Because we really wanted to see it happen. And now it's a self-funding, self-perpetuating thing that so long as we keep getting to do it, we'll be fine. But
I know,
early
especially
days, it was rough.
Wow, yeah, that really does give me hope, at least for like my state too, because one of the largest things that we've had is also like at our local convention, our local group has done a few fur panels, and it seems like beyond, like some crowds actually like want to learn more about the furry community and everything, so they sit down and we try to educate them as much as possible. So I think if we can go that route, yeah, we can develop a little bit of interest, and I want to see if we can actually like garner the attention from both maybe the western side, the western coast, and like the Asian Pacific, because we're based right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So that'd be a huge challenge for us too.
Yeah, definitely seems like it would be. I mean, you can always start with doing, well, used to be able to start to be able
What's
to do
that?
fur meets, right? Just get together, have big meets at like parks or public places.
Yeah, we do that, and we our most recent thing before like the whole shutdown closure stuff was having a local fur walk, and we did that through Waikiki, and we just be a bunch of us in suit, and we'd have some handlers, and then we go down the whole strip of Waikiki, and like all the tourists want to take pictures, like, oh my god, that's like the best feeling ever.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, we really enjoyed that. I'm glad we could squeeze that in just before the clown show. But so with that though, that's kind of what I wanted to lead into, if you don't mind talking about it a little bit. And it's kind of like from all of these local conventions and meetups and stuff, seeing how like a lot of the furry community goes from the online world to the physical world when we meet up. Having all of these closures now, like how has it been difficult for like a lot of the cancellations and whatnot in the convention space?
Well, it has been a major bummer because in addition to helping run Furry Fiesta, I also work with For Planet as like a assistant vendor, and so I go to a number of conventions every year. This year I had like FWA, Anthrocon, and biggest little not BLFC, Alamo City FurCon on my slot for the year, and so far it looks like none of them are going to be happening. So the last convention I attended this year was Furry Fiesta, the con that I staffed and busted my ass for. But that's fine. But it has put us in a lot of a bad situation because we're looking at what everyone else is having to do. Furry Fiesta was very lucky. We were able to run before the shit hit the fan. And we ran, had a good successful year, had a bit of growth. Very nice. So we're all poised for Furry Fiesta 2021 in theory. But once this happened, we're seeing all these conventions have basically to postpone, do online stuff. But in the convention world, like I can get into the real nitty gritty of convention, like content and stuff, because
I'd love to, yeah.
I have lived this life for 12 years at this point. And so when it comes down to these convention contracts with hotels, the biggest problem is attrition and just the cancellation fees. More often than not, you can't cancel a convention without just losing your shirt. Like in my experience, because I also ran a convention called Nightmare Nights, which was a My Little Pony fan convention that ran from 2013 to 2018. And so I got to see all the contracts up close and personal and put my name on them and go, oh, Jesus, I hope I don't have to execute on any of these, like, payment clauses. Basically, the day you sign a hotel contract, you owe them 50%. Like,
that's a down payment.
It's not a down payment. You don't owe them any money, but from that point, if you cancel that contract, you have to pay them 50% of what that contract's value is if you cancel.
Oh, I see.
So,
okay.
like, that contract is signed in blood. And that only escalates as you get closer to the convention, 3 months out to 30 days out. At 30 days out, you owe them the full value. And full value, that is a combination of room rental, various fees, and room nights. So you would be on the hook for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this has been posted publicly, so I don't feel too bad mentioning it, but, like, if Fiesta was forced to cancel in, like, the full situation, it would very easily be $500,000.
And yeah, I imagine that there's also an expected amount of earnings that you guys are going to be leading up until that payment, right?
But the thing is, that's only if we cancel ourselves. The big saving grace for a lot of these conventions right now was basically a clause called force majeure, which basically it's acts of God. If the government says, like, act of God, like if a tornado hits the hotel, you can't have the hotel there, the con there.
Can't help it.
Nothing to be done. You get a flood, whatever, can't help it. Nothing to be done. If the government says, no, you can't have gatherings over a certain size, which we're in right now, that's force majeure. You just say, well, I can't host this convention. We just need to shrug and kick it down the road to the next year. And that's what a lot of conventions are getting to do. They just push their existing contract into 2021, and nothing happens, really. Nobody owes anybody extra money. The hotel gets to keep the business for the next year, and everybody kind of shrugs.
Okay, so that's actually pretty positive than what I've heard, because I thought a lot more cancellations would involve many fees and a lot of, like, legal action. But it seems like this is more of just a delay.
It really depends on the city and the hotel and the various rules, because, like, every hotel chain is different. Every hotel is owned by different management. And so, like, if someone's feeling punitive, they could be real jerks about it. But a lot of these places are hopefully going to take the long view, where it's like, well, if we force them to run this year and they don't hit their targets, they're going to owe us money, but they can't pay it. So they're just going to declare bankruptcy and disappear. Or we can just delay it, and we can hopefully continue getting money from them in the long term.
Exactly. And a lot of conventions, I imagine, like, for the community around in that city, furries bring hundreds of thousands of dollars to a lot of the other venues in that city. So that's another thing that I think that they'd probably look at.
Definitely so. Anthrocon had posted out some press release a couple of years ago, I remember, that Anthrocon's impact on the weekend is to the tune of around $10 million on a single week into the local community. And for many times, like, if you remember remember Fernando's? It was a restaurant that was open down by the Anthrocon Hotel or Anthrocon Convention Center in downtown Pittsburgh, and they were having financial difficulties, and the furry community raised like $25,000 for this guy so he could, because he had like sudden medical bills or whatever, and the furry community to save the guy's restaurant and help him out or whatever.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
But I've heard it said that the single weekend of Anthrocon rate is about 3 months of income equivalent for some of these restaurants.
Ooh. Okay, yeah, that's a major impact.
And I have another example. There used to be a convention, Oklahoma, which was in a rural state park near Watonga, Oklahoma. They got screwed by the homophobic park rangers and some stuff. And some stuff went down, but basically what happened is the net result is that because that convention left, 18% of that small town's GDP just poofed.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just like the furries would come in, spend a crap load of money over the course of a week.
Yeah.
And disappear for another year. And all they had to do was tolerate the queers but they couldn't
Oh
do
my
that, and so 20% of their town's income vanished.
Oh man, that's such yeah, that's just really unfortunate. And like to see like the long-term investment and like the amount of charity that goes into the conventions too. That's like a really huge missed opportunity. And there is though, moving forward with that, a lot of people are hosting, like the VR chat is like booming more than ever. Like people having online conventions and meetings. It's that's really nice to see that we're thriving in that way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Chat is really cool. Like I haven't gotten into that. I mean, I have a VR headset even, but I haven't gotten into it. But I've seen, actually just posted into one of my Telegram chats a little bit ago that there is that Fur Reality is doing a virtual reality furry convention in like VR chat.
Oh, is that going on soon?
Friday, May 22nd through Sunday, May 24th on furreality.org. FURALITY.org.
Are you familiar with King Shiba? Have you ever seen any of his work?
The name is not ringing a bell. Sorry.
No, he's it's okay. He and Rectal Bisque, they're these I believe he's a furry, and he makes these really cute Shiba models for VR chat, and they're super expressive. So if you ever get a chance, try to check them out. I might send you a link sometime. But yeah, Shiba King makes these really adorable Shiba models in VR chat, and there's a ton of furries who have been getting the models and customizing it, so you'll see them all over VR chat. Yeah, and are you have you heard of Nonstop Pup? He has hosted a Minecraft Con actually for last year's convention online.
I've seen the name online, but I'm not super familiar with their work.
No problem. So yeah, that is an option for folks out there. There will be a Nonstop, I believe it's called Nonstop World Minecraft Con. I could probably put some links below. But yeah, check that out. So for you though, Savrin, how do you kind of see this, not to jump the gun too much, but how do you see this kind of disseminating over maybe the next few months or so? Because we are starting to see a little bit of openings now for some restaurants and places around the country.
Well, here in Texas, our governor and lieutenant governor seem dead set on getting people killed, unfortunately. So Texas is one of those states where they're like, we're going to reopen everything. Fuck it. It's been 2 months and I'm tired of staying at home. And so we're going to reopen everything, force frontline workers back to, work at Taco Cabana or whatever. And so that, Karen can get her roots done.
Mm-hmm.
Not a Taco Cabana, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so, like, we've opened, like, a number of places have opened up their dining rooms at 25% capacity, which is silly because it still has, a single person can still infect an entire space if they're coughing and breathing in it. Doesn't matter if it's 25% capacity or not. And I think the 18th, they're like, we're going to let gyms reopen. Yes, let's all get sweaty and breathing heavy. On
the most cultured, like, cesspool-y type of place, really?
Yeah, so unfortunately, like, I'm someone who is on a higher risk category because I have bad asthma. And so, like, if I catch it and it does, like, the damage to my lungs, I'm pretty boned. So I've been taking this very, very seriously. And so for me, I'm really concerned about, like, people wanting to go out because God, I miss my friends. Like, I wish I could sit and enjoy hookah with Fuzz and Shiva and my friends and go see my parents, but it's not safe. And so, like, I think that in the long term, this is going to be a seismic shift in society's interactions. I fully believe that this is going to, for most people, really shift how they do large events. And so, like, we've been, it sucks on the convention side because we've been seeing 5 and 6 and 10 and 12,000 people conventions in the furry community. But I think that's going to make this is going to make a lot of people double second guess themselves if they want to go. Because, even if we do get a vaccine, this whole 2-month period is still going to leave a big psychological impact on folks.
Just the day-to-day practices now of just even wearing a mandated mask everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, it's cool because, like, people have been turning them into, like, fashion statements and the like.
Yeah, I have seen that.
I have a couple. Actually, it's an extremely early, it's a furry maw bandana that I got at a very late Rocky Mountain Fur Con. And it turns out that, like, it's a creator that's still around and they've done much more refined product, but it's just like I had this sitting in my closet amongst my other stuff. I was like, well, I can use this as a mask. So I've been going around with a bright yellow furry mouth bandana at times.
Oh, nice.
The other mask I have is a Legend of Zelda Sheikah clan mask. So it's kind of out there.
Yeah. Wow. No better time to use that mask. Yeah.
I've seen people do 3D printed ones that look like furry muzzles. And I'm like,
what? And it has like a filter in it or something?
Yeah, like it has the filtering slots, but it's like a wolf muzzle or a lion muzzle, and they're 3D printed, and I'm like, holy crap, I want one.
Oh, that sounds so cute. Yeah, I gotta check them out too. Oh wow, yeah. I guess it does kind of make me think, like, I hope a lot of other businesses and places like that aren't trying to, like, bank on, a pandemic or anything like that, but it is good to, of course, make more resources available for people's health. So yeah, there is that. For like the cultural seismic shift, like you mentioned, it seems like, if anything, large conventions and meetups, concerts, anything like that we're going to have, like, at a large scale is just kind of at the back burner right now. For like local meetups, I think maybe, although we've all been kind of like, I'll admit, I've been freaking lonely. To slowly get back into meeting up maybe with a handful of friends and then have our local meets and then eventually like the fur walks again is going to be a kind of a sensitive area to try and make sure that we're being responsible and also having fun. Like, that's all that I want to have. So, I mean, to kind of reminisce, if anything, for you as a con coordinator, over the years, what are some of the favorite aspects of the convention for you to actually organize or just be involved in generally? Because there's a lot of facets.
Well, for me, I've served on the board of directors for Drama, which is now Creature Arts, because we were a 501c7 and now we're a 501c3 official charity as Creature Arts now, so that's cool.
Oh, nice.
And so, like, when you really get to see how the sausage is made, the various agreements that had to be made, the various negotiations with individuals, my point of view is that I've been attending conventions since I was like 15, and not for conventions, but conventions in general, and my point of view is like, well, I had a lot of fun as a teenager and young adult doing this, and now it's my turn to be the facilitator of the next generation of kids to come to a convention and have fun. That's kind of been my view. It's like, I had fun, and now I help other people have fun.
That is an awesome way of thinking, and not to like interrupt too much, but yeah, I feel like after going to so many conventions, you want to give back in a way, and that's when you want to get into volunteering, and then eventually, hosting your own. That sounds like a natural, like, awesome way to give back.
And so for me, like, I've been involved on the upper levels on the board, but also I run the electronic gaming department for Furry Fiesta, which is just basically, hey, come play some video games and unwind for a bit. And I've been doing that since the beginning, and it's primarily been based on like my own console collection and getting people to bring their stuff, but it's basically getting people together, running some tournaments, having some fun, and using it as a shenanigans diffusement. If people can go do something and don't get bored, they're less likely to act up and do something dumb.
Ooh, actually, that's a good form of security too.
Yeah, so like, I run it because, hey, I love video games and they're fun and I like letting other people have fun, but it also serves a good back end reason as well. And like this year, Furry Fiesta 2020, we really, really, really upped our game. I had the assistance of Kalis from Catbox Arena, who's a furry fighting game dude. He's down in Austin and was running like weeklies and stuff down there. So what we ended up doing this last year is like we got a big investment in the department, upgraded to having like 10 PlayStation 4s and some more TVs, and
Oh, nice.
basically ran what was essentially a mini fighting game tournament over the course of multiple fighting game tournaments over the course of the weekend. And it was a lot of fun. We had a seating area, we had a projector so that everyone could sit down and watch things on a big screen, and it was really like the culmination of what I've really been wanting to do for the department for a really, really long time. So like I'm big into like fighting game tournaments and stuff like that, so I really like the fact that I can bring that kind of positive energy into the furry community, which I love. So
The tournaments. So how did that kind of play out? You had so many people enter, and like there was a grand prize or something, or how does that work?
basically what we ended up doing, we had like a water bottle, like first, second, third, like first person got an attending membership for next year. It was like a $5 in for, and the money all went to CARE, the Big Cat Rescue charity in Bridgeport, Texas, that Fiesta has had as its charity forever. And basically we didn't have that many entrants on the first couple ones, but Smash had, I think, 96 people playing
that's a
Smash
lot.
Brothers. So that was exciting. That tournament took a while to do because we only had 5 consoles.
Oh, wow.
But it worked out really well. It was very exciting. We were able to stream it also on Kalis's Twitch channel, and it worked. It was really exciting. And like, I just really enjoy it. The planning is stressful. The budgeting is a little hard, but when you really get down to the like just the execution, pulling off the weekend, and just flying by the seat of your pants, sometimes it's really fun.
And
Then when you're done and you get people appreciating you and thanking you for it, and people telling you what you can do better next time, it's like, all right, cool, this went really well. How can I do it better next time?
That's exactly, I think, how I treat a lot of my own projects. Like, oh, I'm gonna see if this works, and I'm gonna fly by the seat of my pants, and I made it through it, and then now I can live to see the next one. So speaking of video games, dude, like I've been on Animal Crossing for at least the past, has it been out for like 50 days now?
Yeah, it's been out 50 days.
That also freaking, like, what is time? That blew my mind. Because when all of this, like, Animal Crossing couldn't have come out at a better time, along with Doom and a bunch of these other games like Alex and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I got my 50 days on the game yesterday because it has a little the Nook in the little Nook phone thing. It tracks your number of days. It tells you until you get to 200 days, and then it's like you're done. But yeah, I got that, and it's just a matter of just refining my island and buying expensive things and putting them in my house to get that Happy Home Academy rank up.
Get that 5-star island.
Yep.
Are you a fan of Doctor Who? Because I'm a dirty Time Lord.
That's a fun show. I've watched a lot of the most recent series.
I don't know. Have they still been? What's the latest season? I haven't been keeping up.
13th Doctor had a full season that ended, I think, a couple months ago.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I've seen some of the stuff people have done. There's like a blue British phone box. It's not quite the phone box like the Doctor Who phone box, but it's a British style public telephone thing. And I've seen people make some fun little Doctor Who referencey dioramas in the game.
Oh, in their town? Oh, that's cute. I like that. Because, well, I'll be honest. Yeah, I only mentioned the Time Lord thing because, I have been, what do you call? cheat. Is it cheating?
Time traveling.
Yeah, is that cheating? I don't know.
You're not actually punished for doing it anymore. The only thing that'll happen is your turnips will rot if you have them. So, and like the devs have said, it's not a big deal. They don't care.
Oh, okay. I'm safe. Okay, cool. They won't like banhammer me.
Oh no. Previously, in like earlier versions of the game, you'd get like Rossetti on your butt about it. But
yeah, I'm so bummed that he's not there.
I'm fine that he got fired because like I don't want him yelling at me, but also with the way that like the games work nowadays, like the suspend states and whatever, it's kind of hard to do what you would do in those earlier games.
That is true. It seems like this game has been the most streamlined among all the other games. The only thing that they like really kind of like tightened on, or they're controlling more of the holiday events now, aren't they, with updates?
Yeah, which I think is good because that way they permit time traveling, but also make sure that people are experiencing the holiday events at the time of the actual holidays. Because like the Bunny Day stuff was patched in, the Earth Day was and May Day stuff was patched in. Because we live in the modern interconnected world, they can just send us updates versus having to have everything on cartridge, as it were.
Yeah.
And like it also allows them to, like, I have a couple people who are in Southern Hemisphere or in Australia or whatever, and so like for them it's fall and it'll be winter soon, so it's like, well, go down there and experience the winter stuff early. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was cool to let you choose your hemisphere because it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's like, oh, well, yeah, just make the real world an analog.
So
and I did have this conversation about kind of like with my mate about having like a full game. Would you rather just have a full game or something that like the company would support long term to increase the longevity and the playability of a game? What is your kind of take on having DLC or just a one-time package?
Well, when it comes to games like Animal Crossing, I do like the fact that it's getting long-term support, because like they've done this with they did it with Splatoon for a while, they did it with Smash Brothers, they're still doing it with Smash Brothers, and like Nintendo has a pretty good track record. They update things for about a year or two and then they stop. So like eventually Animal Crossing New Horizons will stop getting updates, but by that point it'll been at least a full year and we'll have all the holidays and all this other stuff, and so you can just kind of play the game indefinitely. So like it is more or less a full game. Like I don't think they're going to be adding any other features or quality of life stuff that they really could add. I wish, like bulk crafting and stuff like that.
There was a fan-made trailer. I don't know if you've seen,
I saw that and I'm like, oh God, I wish.
I legit thought that there was a Nintendo Direct that I missed, and I was like, when did they add all of these updates?
Yeah, I saw that, but then the bottom left corner, it says Nintendo don't, and I'm like,
bummer.
Got my hopes up for half a second. How dare you?
Exactly. And then, oh yeah, even Nintendo's still on hold for another Direct. A lot of other people, like, I follow Arlo. He's another Nintendo, I guess you could say, like, reporter. Mm-hmm. And they've been theorizing that based on their previous scheduled Directs, that it should have been happening at least like late this month or last month, but it seems like they've just been relatively quiet this whole year, so that's interesting.
Yeah, like from all the other like gaming podcasts, listen, like Giant Bomb and Waypoint Radio and the like, a lot of their discussion is basically Nintendo is incredibly old-fashioned and very, very bad at this working online stuff, so they're reacting pretty slowly. So we might get a Direct on what's going on in the next little while, or maybe not, because I don't know if you saw it, but like Xbox Series X, they just did like their third-party game reveal video the last couple days, and it was basically being run from a Zoom meeting, and it was really funny.
Oh my
because
gosh.
The guy's headset kept like green screening out, getting chroma key.
Oh no.
Kind of hilarious. But
hey, but that's no different from the regular demos, right?
Yeah, I mean, the guy wasn't on screen for very long and he was just running video, so it worked, but like Microsoft being an American company and whatnot probably has a little bit more experience doing the remote stuff, streaming, whereas I'm pretty sure like Nintendo is very, very regimented, very structured, and like they have their timing on the directs down to a T. So
Yeah, and if you break that format, the flexibility sometimes is just not there, and maybe that's what they're facing.
yeah.
I even heard like in Japanese culture itself that when people are working on projects with, their partners or the boss itself, the workplace relationship tends to be more in person. So it'd be somewhat rude to work at a distance from like your employer and stuff. That's kind of just speculative stuff. But yeah, just a different world. So for yourself though, with, I guess, just with kind of getting up to speed on like news and whatnot, it seems like there's a little bit of a standstill even for some other podcasts that I follow. It's like not much else to talk about regarding like, COVID and stuff. How have you been just kind of keeping up with your daily stuff to just, engage with people and maintain sanity?
Well, Twitter is really bad for sanity. It is
Yes.
very,
Oh my
very
gosh.
depressing in many, many cases. I've been primarily keeping up with people via Telegram and over the phone, which, holy crap, taking a phone call, making a phone call? Who does
Talking on the phone?
that? Using my, iPhone 11 as a phone? And really, that's, like, for me, I have a good close relationship with my parents, and so like I keep up with them multiple times a week because like they're in their mid 60s, not in the greatest of health, dealing with all this stuff here in Texas. It's like and so keep up with them and just keeping up with friends. Like I have the SouthPaws fan chat, which is nice and busy, but I also have like a California friend group for since like 2014. I had a weekly Londoner pub meetup with a bunch of my now previous con staff from Nightmare Nights, and it was just like a weekly hangout. We'd get together, have a couple drinks, talk, chat, sketch, all that fun stuff. It was like a weekly firm meet, and like we have a Telegram group now, so we're keeping up with each other that way, like posting like Sunday night, posting pictures of the beer we're drinking so we can virtually drink together.
That's really adorable though.
So I mean, it's just making sure that you keep in touch with folks because you can't see them in person. It's like, holy crap, I've finally developed a good social life as a middle-aged adult. What's going on here? Oh no, it's all gone.
But that was the first thing you said about social media, kind of keeping away from those echo chambers is really important. I found out like sometimes when I'm doing my own artwork and stuff, if I've like realized that I've only been engaging with people through notifications on Twitter, it's like, okay, that's just unhealthy.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading like politicians tweets and stuff, and I'm like, what am I doing? I need to interact with like people in my life right now. What's up?
Yeah, a lot of times it's just not good to, like, you see the trends on the side of the thing. They are tempting. They're shiny, but don't click them. They are generally not good.
Because it's just a rabbit hole, like one trend after another, and then I don't know. I just find myself getting kind of grumpy. I'm like, why am I like stressed out? It's like, oh, I've been paying attention to way too much.
One thing I've done on Twitter to manage things a little bit, I made a list of just artists that I follow, because I follow, well, according to this, 98 artists on Twitter. And
oh, damn.
So I just click that, and it's just a list of all the art and all the stuff that they retweet. And since these are artists, more often than not, it's primarily just art. And really,
so
there's lots of furry porn.
So you're trimming. Okay, so yeah, you're basically streamlining and trimming the fat for your timelines.
Yeah, and with the list feature, you can just be like, all right, these are the people I know. These are the people that I just want to see their tweets. And honestly, I've had to just mute a couple of my mutuals because they just get into some constant nonsense. It's like they beat their heads against the wall and for funsies, and I'm like, man, I can't handle you right now. And then you just mute them, and you're still
Okay,
mutuals,
that's fair.
but you don't see them engaging with like turfs or internet baddies, and it's just like
Drama stuff, yeah. Because yeah, it does affect the people around you, and it's like, oh, I don't want to kind of pay attention to the bad vibes right now. So that's really smart. I should actually start making lists. Thank you for that.
yeah. But yeah,
So
it's bad.
So yeah, Twitter. It's weird because it's like I can't think of anything like better in terms of like the transparency, because like you get like a hard line IV for everything because it's so fast. But it's like because there's no real filter, you have to be your own filter.
Yep.
So I mean, kind of going way back now, because I do like to ask a lot of my furry friends and the people that I interview. For you, this may have been a time-tested question, but for you, how have you entered the fandom? Was it through online or through a friend? How did that kind of play out for yourself?
So way back in the dim past of 1996, a young Savrin got themselves a computer at home and a 28.8 modem and AOL 3.0, and very quickly found their way into looking up like, well, you know, I was always a really big fan of Robin Hood and The Lion King, so I was a proto furry before I knew it, and then basically I was looking up Robin Hood stuff and found my way onto VCL and to gay unicorns banging, and that was a life-changing experience. And from there I basically found out like what furry was back then, and like finding old story archives like the Miavir furry archives. I don't think that exists anymore. The Orlando furry archive, that doesn't exist anymore. Belfry Comics art directory, back when furry web comics were a big thing. So like this was very, very early internet, very early public internet, because like furries had existed on like BBSs before that. And
Are those like message boards? Or I'm not quite familiar because I think I was 2 at the time.
yeah.
Sorry.
The BBSs are basically text-only bulletin boards that you would dial in, and there was like alt-fan furry, alt-fan werewolves. There was lots of that, but that was actually before my time. I only came onto the internet when it finally hit sort of the public, broader public. So like very early on, I found my way into like looking at furry art, reading furry stories, and reading furry webcomics. So like that was kind of my entry into the community, and like this was also when like my the Fort Worth Library had some anime VHS in their library for rental, and so I was getting into like the anime side of things, and my first RL point of contact with the furry community was that like I was age 15 going to an Acon room party that was run by Shiva.
Hey, okay.
And also Guardian. He was also somebody I knew from way back then. And he was on.
So,
like, I've known some of these local furries more than half my life, is what I'm saying.
yeah, and that like you're saying about like you had these seeds of like the online life, and then slowly you found it more mixing with your regular in real life.
And like my first in-person furry convention was Anthrocon 2004, which was in Philadelphia at, I forget what it was. It was some horrible brown hotel, and I remember it only because I have some really, really crappy like disposable camera photos from back then. And let me tell you, the fursuit technology and general like demographics of the fandom has changed significantly for the better in the past 15-20 years.
How have you personally observed like the trend of going from, I guess it was more like then it was like the Robin Hoods and more of maybe the feral type of just animals to now the thick bean dad bods of the fursuit days today.
Well, it's funny because we had the furry community that I've seen, like, as digital art has progressed, like you have a lot of the old guard that are still around. You have like Michelle Light, Diane Sprinkle, I think Christian Jaguar is still around.
I've heard those names.
Like there's a number of these artists that have been around forever, and like they started doing traditional and they're still doing traditional, by God, or they've upgraded their stuff a bit, but like here in my office, I have like the 25th anniversary art collection, like promotional poster that For Planet made up for the Michelle Light art collection that has like an illustration from 1995 of a cute little unicorn boy that she did. And then on the front page and on the back page is that same thing redrawn in 2019, which is really cool. So like you've seen things evolve from like the strict realism of a lot of it. Like a lot of the early stuff was slightly toony or very realistic. Like fox faces with the little diamond eyes and all that stuff, not very stylized at all. Versus like nowadays, it's like you have even the artists that do realistic traditional stuff, like Kenket, their stuff is still heavily stylized in like the face or the body. And so like we've evolved to be a much more stylistically broad community, in both fursuits and in just art in general. Like story-wise, it's only gotten broader. Working with For Planet, I see a lot of the breadth of stories that people do within the community. We've got, steampunk, fantasy, sci-fi, romance, adventure, sports, the full breadth of stuff.
Any genre,
and we have representatives of it in the community. And so, like, it's been so cool to see the fandom flourish. Because, it used to be back in the day that furry hate was like the flavor of the month, flavor of the multiple years on the internet. And now it's like we're vaguely like mainstream-ish.
And that's kind of the really amazing thing about it, because I've heard of this kind of like, like criticism or anything like, oh God, furry or whatever, cringe. But so far since my entry like 3-4 years ago in the fandom, that's never really been the case. And I've only seen positivity like in real life, or any of the criticism would only be like online from, a quote unquote hater or whatever. And it's like, where's the negativity that I was expecting? But it's really nice to see it mature in that way.
That whole phrase, say it to my face and not online and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
More often than not, people in real life are not going to go out of their way to cause a ruckus at an event to hate on some furry unless they're feeling really ballsy and have a posse with them. Like, that's not going to happen. And because you can talk all the crap you want online, but when it comes to real life, people are not going to mess with you for the most part. And if they do, at an event, you just say, hey, security, this dude's harassing me, and they lose their badge and get kicked out. So, they lose either way.
That's perfect.
But, like, online, it was a lot more acceptable, and, like, a lot of the hate against furries online is rooted in homophobia and general, like, hatred of queerness, because, furry's very, very, very queer.
We're so progressive.
It's a very easy cover for I hate the gays. Just say I hate the furries, because there's a lot of them that are gay.
They're different. I don't like that. Stop it.
But nowadays online, people kind of get that for the most part, where it's like, if you're hating on this community, it's probably you have some other underlying hatreds on you.
And it's so funny. It's not like directly to say like, you're not a human. I don't like that. Stop being anthropomorphic.
So I have to say that, like, I think that the arc of the furry community over the last 20 years has only gotten better. Like, I think the fandom's in a really good spot right now. And as we continue to, like, in terms of, like, acceptance of queerness and trans people and all that fun stuff, and like handling our Nazi problem, handling our pedo problems, and the like. And you know, even if we have to like twist his arm really hard, we can actually, you know, get for Affinity to maybe clamp down on the Nazis.
The way that they've been filtering that has been pretty interesting over the past years.
They actually had to update it recently after the most recent outcry, because there's some dude that had posted like Christchurch shooter fan art, and
I did catch wind of that, yeah.
and they were like, well, it's not directly, you know, it's not directly, there's not a swastika on there. It's like, no, there's all these other symbols and phrases which are directly connected to white supremacist thought online.
Yeah.
They eventually had their arm twisted until it was taken down. But
and I believe, was their account actually removed too? Or
I think they closed their account because
okay. But that's really nice to see. Yeah, at least when people flag enough things, it's like people are willing to like kind of rationally say, hey, that's not cool. Stop the not coolness.
Yeah. It's just making the community a better place to be, because, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, one thing that I do take issue with is when you have like the younger kids, like actual minors, coming in and being like, this is a children's space, that there should be no porn. They can go to Twitter jail. Be gone.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really dangerous. Even for myself as a sometimes 18 plus artist in the community, putting up the no people under 18 kind of clause in your bio, that doesn't really stop it.
No.
How do you handle that? I mean, it's so hard. And what's like the case for the independent artists just trying to, you know, feed their own audience without, you know, the minors and everything?
Well, for me, I maintain a pretty clean feed, and like but I do keep an eye on who follows me. I do look and see, like, because if someone openly identifies as a minor, that makes me pretty leery of them, and like I generally try not to be super interactive with minors online, like who should be. It's a gamble. If anything is misconstrued, just, you know, protect yourself, right? For artists, basically what they can do is they can put the 18 plus in the bio, but that's not going to stop anybody. But if they have the correct settings on Twitter, the sensitive content, sensitive media settings turned on, basically they've put up the you know, paper wall of deniability, saying, well, you know, I've marked this as adult, and if those kids are lying, that's on them.
Okay.
And that's the thinnest little veneer of protection that they have, but it works. You know, we had a little bit of a Twitter panic a couple days ago where like people are like, oh no, the group of minors is going to get together and like mass report a bunch of not safe for work artists.
Oh, gosh.
And then like it drilled down to, well, it was a group of people mad about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure stuff, and then drilled down a little bit further, and it turns out it was like a single ringleader that was trying to get anything gay off Twitter. So it was like drilled down far enough and you find a homophobe, which was just great. And it was like some 17-year-old that's like, no, get gay stuff off Twitter. It's terrible. It's like, whatever, kid.
Yeah, okay. But there's nothing, it's pretty surface level when it comes to that kind of thing.
And like the same for Affinity or any other website that has like these minor age gates where you can just say, hey, you know, like you have to be like, for Affinity, you set the rating, and that's, you know, you set the rating and it's up to the person on the other side being able to flipping that on, right? So
Yeah.
it's like you say, this is an 18 plus piece of art, or this is general audiences, and it puts the onus on the person choosing to view the content to either be truthful and say, well, I'm a minor, I shouldn't see this, or I'm a horny teenager and I want to see porn, like everybody is. Like anybody that's like, I never looked at porn before I was 18 is a liar.
Exactly.
And that's just
it's
how
more
everybody stays safe and plays ball online.
Yeah, and that's I think that's really just like internet etiquette in a way, and the way that you mentioned having like this is all directed towards I guess like artists and people in general, having that paper wall of like putting out your content, marking it as such, and then just letting it be out there, but to the best of your ability, you put it for the right audience, you put it for the right age level. How did you get into, because in the beginning, asking about a little bit of your interests and stuff that you've been up to, I'm really curious, what is the audiobook narrator life like? Or did I get that right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I messed it up.
So
okay.
I have a number of books up on audible.com under my real name. I have narrated the first 5 books of the Out of Position series, as well as a couple other stories, Summerhill by Kevin Frayne, and I was asked back in the day hey, it's like, why don't you try giving this a shot? So basically, I've been doing primarily furry stuff. It's side income. Like, I'm primarily a house husband for my partner, and he makes really good money, so I don't have to have a minimum wage job because I have like an associate's degree. I could work at Walmart, so just don't. Anyways, so what I do when I'm recording, when I have a content, is just, I have my office here at home is set up to mitigate echo as much as possible, and I have like sound dampening on the walls, and I do the reading and the editing and the posting to Audible, and it's generally paid on a royalty basis. So
how what is the dynamic like? So then for like the series like Kyle Gold, I love his work. I have a lot of his books on my shelf right now. What is it like interacting with like the author or creator, and then having to be allowed like to just, I guess, read the entire novel?
Well, in my case, because this kind of ties back to the For Planet stuff, just being like, hey, I like your stories. You want an audiobook made? And they go, yeah. I mean, but that's also predicated on me having kind of a good working relationship with these people. Like, I've known them, I've seen them, I've had meals with them, I've hung out with them at cons and stuff. Like, if I was just John Q. Furry and didn't know them from a hole in the wall and didn't have like any sort of reputation with them as someone who does audio, that would be a lot harder. But with like Kyle, he was looking for an audiobook series to be done of the Devon Leave series, and way back in the day I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give that a shot, and I did. And I'm currently still working on the 6th book in that series, as well as his tennis one, Love Match. I need to finish that up and get it to him. But unfortunately, with the work from home situation and what my partner does, he's on the calls, and that makes it very hard to record at home.
Oh, gotcha. And for when you're reading into the characters, I imagine, like, are you changing a little bit of the voice, or is it just kind of one long continuous read, or do you really start playing into the characters, I could imagine?
Well, what I do is I have a standing mic situation, and so like when I'm doing scenes, I'll pre-read them a bit, and then like as I'm recording them, do the bit of the gesticulation and like kind of, act into the reading. And so like you have a voice for a character, and my voice doesn't have the greatest range, but when you have sort of a set voice for different characters in a scene, it does help. So basically it's just reading the material and figuring out how you want to do the scene, and then a lot of times re-listening to it and being like, I don't like how that came off, and possibly doing it again. For me, recording sometimes takes like up to twice the actual amount of recorded time, just because I'm like, I screwed up that, or the dog barked, or whatever. And so unfortunately I live in an apartment, and so with neighbors and their dogs and stuff, sometimes it's real difficult. Or, oh no, it's Thursday, the lawn crew's coming through. So guess I can't record for 6 hours of the day. So, it's just getting into, it's some, for me, it makes my money. I enjoy it. And it's putting furry stuff out there in a more accessible format for certain people. And it just broadens the scope of furry media out there.
That's what I love. Exactly. Yeah.
So like we've got audiobooks, we've got videos, we've got games, we've got all this stuff. And so like we're just slowly but surely getting into every form of creative media. Like I'm pretty sure there's no subgenre we haven't touched on at this point as the fandom. And so like for a while there, actually, like going back to my days in like the pony fandom, I was also doing fanfic readings for funsies. And so most recently I had someone ask me about it, like because my exit from that community was kind of traumatic in that like the last year of my convention we ended up with like 4 credible death threats, and that was kind of like, you know what, this isn't fun anymore, we're done.
And that was for like not to derail too much, but that was for like the BronyCon experience?
Yeah, that was for when I was running my pony convention Nightmare Nights, yeah.
Okay.
But basically, in my active time in that community, because I do audiobooks, I was also doing fanfic readings of stories that I enjoyed. So I have like a further 3 or 4 full stories plus a bunch of 30 to 45 minute, 1 hour one shots that I had someone ask me about, and I'm like, yeah, I still got them. They're still on my Google Drive and they're still on YouTube. They're just marked as private. So I just go flick and put, it's now a playlist that's 81 videos deep. That's literally my entire like pony fandom related audiobooks that I did just back available for people to listen to or download.
Thank you for that. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, pretty much. Because the person, like, I made a couple videos about like sort of retrospective, and so I was like, oh god, it's such a shame I missed your audiobooks and stuff. And I was like, I still got them, right? He's like, can I have them? I'm like, yeah, here's a link. It's like, could you put them back on YouTube? Yeah, why not? Vic.
Nice.
I'm pretty easy when it comes to like, hey, I want to listen to your stuff. Can I listen to your stuff? Yes.
Sure.
Why not?
Oh, you're a saving grace. And so you mentioned about like having all of these different facets of, like, basically, yeah, we've dipped into every content and media that you could, I guess, with the furry fandom, and who knows what. So for the direction for your type of content specifically, Savrin, how do you view like the podcast scene for SouthPaws, or like what's the next thing for SouthPaws, or do you want to keep the status quo?
Well, because we've shifted to doing online recordings, it's a lot easier for us because we also record over Discord like this to have guests on. Like I've had a couple people talk to me about like, hey, I'd like to come on to the show and discuss blah. And that's just like, all right, well, hey, and I talked to Fuzz and Shiva, and we were like, yeah, sure, why not? And just a matter of scheduling an interview. Because we're doing this remote format, doing interviews is actually a lot easier instead of, all of us sitting in a spot together, but then also having someone come in remote, which is complex as hell. But
you're going to need a really long hookah line.
Yeah, everyone online, and that's easy. So, like, doing some interviews with people, trying to focus more on fandom, because, like, the political scene of the country right now is intensely depressing, and there's like, we can talk about it and we can all agree, wow, this sucks ass, but there's really nothing we can do about it right now.
Exactly.
So it's like just kind of molding the content into having like, what sort of positive stuff can we include in this to counterbalance the general terribleness of the world? Because like, yeah, we're still going to talk about like the real out there stories, and like one of the fun things we got to touch on a little bit briefly was like the Department of the Navy being like, yeah, these videos of UFOs are legit, they're from us.
What?
Whatever. Yeah, there's some like
the government like branch, the Navy, confirmed that UFOs are real.
Well, they confirmed that they are indeed unidentified flying objects. As much as I would like for there to be Alamos to show up and be like, hey, by the way, we're taking over. I'm like, oh, please. Hey, you can take me onto your starship anytime.
I know, things are kind of back anyway.
But, we have all this terrible stuff happening in the world, and we have this video release confirmed from the Navy, like, yeah, these are from us, and they are indeed objects that are flying that we can't identify, therefore they are unidentified flying objects.
Oh, okay, I see. But I could see how that would be very clickbaity.
Yeah, and so, that was like something that dropped in the news, and we're like, look, we've got a lot of bad stuff coming on. Can you aliens come back later, please?
Yeah,
right?
Can you just chill? we got killer bees on the way.
And like this most recent Thursday, we were all really tired and ended up not recording a full episode, but then like that Friday I sat down and recorded like 20 minutes talking about a few things that I want to touch on, because the way our news cycle goes, like by the time we get around back to it next week, it would be ancient history or people had forgotten it. So
yeah, so is that format for you, like these small little personal updates, something that you want to sprinkle here and there?
I'll probably keep doing that because it's real easy and it lets me kind of focus on the stuff that I want to talk about that might not necessarily play, because, man, I can talk about, like, video games and other bullshit for hours if I wanted to, but that's not really going to play for Fuzz and Shiva, who are far less plugged into that kind of thing, or, like, the tacit agreement that, man, none of us want to play The Last of Us 2 because they're, like, making the game even more misery porn than it already is, with the whole the dog update. Did you see that?
Yeah, I caught a little wind of that, and I did hear, I did check out your last, I guess you would call it, personal update, about how it's totally like, I want to kill, or I want to beat up the dogs or something in the game, and like, that's just not really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's like, hey, these dogs are trained to kill you, but if you kill the dog, that makes the person who trained that dog incredibly sad, which then makes them psychologically compromised, so you can kill them easier.
Yeah, I don't really find the appeal of that personally, and it's like, do people get off on that? And I guess that's why it is misery porn, like you said.
Yeah, like not my thing.
Yeah, but actually, I guess that's why we have Animal Crossing and Doom and
and Final Fantasy 14 and any number of games that don't involve you going out of your way to murder people's dogs to make them sad, so they're easier to kill.
I'm like, Final Fantasy is one of those genres I can never wrap my head around, just because, like, I see these advertisements go around from, like, Asian markets and stuff where there's, like, Cloud, and he's holding up a cup of noodles or a Butterfinger, and I'm just like, wow, I've never seen video games, like, advertised so hard before. It's so funny.
Square Enix loves their weird crossovers. Back in the day when Final Fantasy 13 was coming out, they made a potion energy drink, which was just a crappy flavored energy drink that was in a fancy bottle that they sold in convenience stores. And so they had some really bonkers advertising around then where it's like these two people are reaching for the last bottle, and so they have like a Final Fantasy fight amongst each other.
Oh my gosh.
Like, the winner gets like numbers flying off them and everything, and then the winner gets to drink the potion and it restores their health a little bit. It's just Square Enix loves that stuff.
That's the kind of like glitchy, is that the right term? Glitchy type of collector stuff that I think that would be pretty nice, actually.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah.
It's a neat bottle. Apparently doesn't taste very good, though.
Oh. No, it's probably like 80% sugar or something.
Yep.
So anyway, oh damn, we've been running for a good hour though. So I'd like to just first of all formally thank you so much for making the time to just sit with me on TreeBark. And I honestly, like, through like the past week or two, it's just been kind of rough personally for a lot of people, and like scheduling everything. So I just can't thank you enough for helping me get back on the ball and then getting these interviews going. So are there any last plugs or things that you like people to know about SouthPaws or Savrin? What's up?
All right, well, you can find SouthPaws Cast, which is the name of the podcast, on Twitter at SouthPawsCast. You can find us, all our information there. Find us how to subscribe us. You can find us on all your favorite podcatchers. And we're a weekly show. Older furries current events show that we've been doing forever. The most recent episode was 463. A lot of those older episodes are gone to the mists of time, but, you know, it is one of those things we've been doing forever. You can find me on Twitter at Savrin Drake and on Twitch at Savrin, though I'm really bad at streaming because, hey, depression. But I play video games there occasionally, and that's really kind of it for the plug. I mean, you know, hopefully people can come to Furry Fiesta 2021. We'll see what happens, right? But other than that, man, I don't think I've got any other like major plugs to do right now. Go find my book. Go find the Kyle Gold books on Audible. Check those out if you want a pretty lengthy furry audiobook series that will have more entries soon. Check it out.
Awesome. So thank you very much for joining me for this creator interview. Go check out Savrin and go check out the podcast SouthPaws. They're super awesome. I've been listening to them for the past 3 years and many more to come. So you guys have a good night. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, thank you, Savrin.
That was fun.
I loved it. That was good. Ah, nice.
And thank you so much to my Patreon supporters, starting with the patron pups, Adrian Eves, Ben Campbell, Cord Hull, Damian Adams, Knock82562, Codavir, Michael Draws, Roadwolf, Tyler Green. And a huge thanks to the official Good Boy supporters, Archon Inu, Black Mothwitch, Francis Booth, Howler, Jason, Kogo, and OK Dougal. And a huge shout out to the Top Dog supporters, starting with Artorius Nightwalker, Bryce, Damon, Ella Ryra, Ferris, Hattie, Jay Wolf, John Dem, Moody, and Yoru Pandawolf. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting my work, and if you'd like to see future endeavors, you can support me on Patreon at Shikokubo. And you can also follow my work on Twitter or FA at Shikokubo. That's SHIKOKUBO. Take care.